I think this is a very unique collaboration between active clinician scientists and people who are trying to support research in Parkinson's disease.
There's been a very long-standing relationship between the Pacific Parkinson's Research Center and the Pacific Parkinson's Research Institute. Now, this relationship actually goes back to the early 1990s when both organizations actually had different names. There was the Neurodegenerative Diseases Center located at UBC, and the Honorable John Nichol formed an organization called the Movement Disorders Institute to try and support the research activities in the center. For a variety of reasons, over time, the institute changed its name to Pacific Parkinson's Research Institute, and we decided shortly thereafter to change our name in order to more clearly align the relationship between the two.
The value for having the clinic and doing the research, I think, is immense. Because as a clinician, I know where the problems are. I'm in the clinic and the trenches all the time. I see my patients, I speak to them, they tell me what is bothering them. I know you get ideas of what you need to study and you see the need. You take that to the lab or to the research project and then you bring it back to the clinic. And it's all it's seamless.
I think what really makes our center unique is how closely people work together. I think it's important to have a balanced mixture of different types of research projects. So some of the research that's been extremely successful in the past has been imaging. So that's included PET imaging and MRI imaging. More recently, we're looking at novel treatments, and this includes non-invasive brain stimulation. We do know that deep brain stimulation is a proven therapy for Parkinson's disease, but unfortunately, the waiting list for this procedure is very, very long, and it's necessarily invasive surgery. So we are currently doing research to see whether or not we could get the same benefit by just putting electrodes externally behind the ear. And I think this is a very exciting direction.
When you conduct the research in the context of a clinical center, then those questions are often driven by what is clinically important. And increasingly, the suggestions may in fact come from patients who, repeatedly say, this is what really bothers me. And when you hear that enough, then you decide you need to do something about it.
The ongoing support from the PPRI allows us to attract top-level people from around the world.
The funding from PPRI over the years has been staggeringly important for a variety of reasons. First of all, PPRI on many occasions has provided funding for pilot projects that just allow you to take an idea and get it off the ground. That can be a remarkably difficult thing to do because major funding organizations are often not that interested in supporting that kind of activity. Secondly, PPRI has supported people. And in any organization, I would say that the best resource, no matter how beautiful the building as this one is, no matter how fancy the equipment, the most important resource is always going to be the people and their intellect.
In the past, we had actually, the PPRI had funded thematically large directions of research, for example, PET imaging. And what's happening now is that we tend to have different projects or a menu of options that people who want to fund research can choose one of the particular projects that seems to suit their needs. We're often very open to feedback from the PPRI as to directions of research that people would like to see. So for example, one thing that has come up repeatedly is difficulty with sleep. A lot of people with Parkinson's have difficulty with sleep, and we now have an active research project involved in that, partly due to interest from donors and their families.
The reality of research is, of course, that it is very much driven by the funding you have. Without it, you cannot do anything, not a single step.